Hello, welcome to the Reloading Podcast here on the Firearms Radio Network. I want to thank the listeners for tuning in to this locality. And I want to thank Sean and the gang over at Firearms Radio Network for bringing this podcast to you. And for Jake and Ryan over at Patriot Patch Company for being the bandwidth sponsor. Man, they just keep cranking out more and more patches. At some point in time, I'll go grab my hat, which has the current patch of the month on it, which is a turkey going gobble this, holding a hand grenade in one hand and the pin for the hand grenade. So for Black Friday, they've got a shopping cart full of. So I'll grab those patches and show them to you before the end of the show. But yeah, got to check it out. So, gentlemen, how's everybody's week been?
Slow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you there, Jim?
Just slow.
Get anything reloading on yet?
Yeah, I did a little bit. What I did is I passed out a few business cards for the reloading room and this very podcast. And trying to get some recruits in. I got a couple of real serious nibbles. They'll probably join up.
Awesome. Trevor, did you do anything or just mainly healing?
Well, no, I did. I was doing some reloading, and even though I wasn't supposed to, I did another one tonight before the show. Was I talking about the reloading of the Lyman Sabo slug on the last show 2 weeks ago?
You hinted about it. You were casting them.
Right. Okay. Well, casting is done, and I started to reload them, and this is what they look like. They look like that big, like a monster.
Oh my God!
Pellet, yeah.
That's a pellet 3/4 inch diameter, and that's ouch! That's a Crossman pellet. If I ever saw
exactly. Crossman pellet on steroids. The only problem is, Jim, this is a loaded one, and it looks
that ain't good.
No, exactly. It looks
that ain't good.
Just like a regular shot shell. So I'm keeping them isolated for now so that I can label them accordingly. And I haven't been able to go out and test them. I went out hunting today and I shot a squirrel, but other than that, I'm not supposed to be doing anything firearms related, and I'm finding it incredibly difficult to stop. I had. Do you want to do that now, Mike, or do you want to do that later?
We can do it now.
All right. So I had my my annual or biannual physical, and the results came back from my lead test. I had the doctor test my lead along with most people just get their cholesterol and their blood sugar checked. I had my lead checked. So it was flagged by the lab who did it as being high. So there's two types of tests that they do. There's BUG per liter and BUMOL per liter. And the normal range is between 0.0 and 20.0 and 0.00 and 0.10. And again, that's units per liter. Apparently, other places test in deciliters, but for some reason, the hospitals do it in liters. You get a more concentrated, more accurate number if you do it in deciliters, apparently. I've been talking to different people about what these numbers mean. So again, the normal range is 0 to 20, and I was at 97.7, so over 4 times the acceptable range. And the other one is supposed to be between 0 and decimal 10, and I was at decimal 47.
Hey,
so,
Trevor.
Yeah.
Now we know why you talk so much. You can't shut up.
Yeah, well.
The lead's killing your brain.
I guess. Yeah, you would think that I'd be a little more incoherent and talk with an even better slur, but anyway, so that's why I'm wearing the glove to hold this bare lead pellet, because this is just pure. Well, it's not pure lead; it's an alloy, but it's still obviously lead. So I was told to cease and desist the reloading, the casting, and the shooting I'm not sure where it's coming from exactly. I imagine it's my poor reloading practices. I started reloading in 2011 when I started shooting on a regular basis and competing. And in 2012, my lead was high then. And I haven't had it checked since 2012. And lo and behold, I didn't do anything to improve my practices because it has gone up, not gone down, not stayed the same. It's gone up and gone up quite significantly. So when now it's high, but not dangerous yet. It's not
Hey, Trevor.
Yeah.
Serious suggestion for you, buddy. I know you're not going to quit. Okay, we all three know you're not going to quit.
Yeah.
All right, but what you do, wear the latex gloves, both hands. But the most important thing you can do when you're casting, get yourself a box fan and blow that fumes from yourself to away. Not, I'm saying from left to right or right to left, not back to front, because that creates a whirlpool effect, and not obviously not directly in your face.
Mm-hmm. I've casted just a handful of times, both here and at my buddy's place. When I do it here, Jim, I do it outdoors and I use a fan. Maybe not using the fan correctly, but I think I was using the fan. If I was outside and the wind was at my back, then I was putting the fan in front of the casting pot to kind of suck the fumes away from me in the direction of the wind. My buddy's place, not so much, very little ventilation. He just does it inside the garage door with the door open, or inside the garage with the door open. No fan, no ventilation, no respirators, anything like that. But again, I've only casted in my entire life. I'm sure I've casted less than 20 times. And we're not talking two hours at a time either. In the early days, when I would clean my brass in a dry tumbler, I would separate the media right there in the basement. And then I noticed one day there was like a layer of dust everywhere. So I stopped doing that. Now I still tumble in the house, but I separate outside with a dust mask on. I try and...
Are you handling your brass barehanded?
Yes.
That's a mistake, because powder has lead in it, and so does the lead stiphanate primers.
Yeah. So...
Okay, secondly, this is important too. When you're reloading and you're done, whatever you're doing, whether it's tumbling brass, prepping brass, whatever,
wash my hands.
Of course, you're doing it with latex. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But whatever you do, do not consider having any food that you're going to ingest around in the reloading shop, the reloading area. Okay.
Yeah, and I know all that. I just got complacent. So this is a reminder. Now your body will process the lead. The lead level will go down. There's certain things that you can take, supplements that help speed up the process. Winter is when I do more of the brass prep and reloading. So it's not like I'm limiting my exposure because I'm not shooting as often. It's not, I don't think this is happening from shooting. This is definitely happening from my reloading hobby. So I will...
I'm sorry, again, to interrupt, but if you're shooting lead bullets, you're getting lead dust in the air.
Yeah, I'm not, though.
You're not shooting in your handguns?
No, I'm shooting either, well, now, since I picked up Bex Metal as a sponsor, I shoot polymer coated.
Okay.
Yeah. Polymer coated. Before that, I was powder coating. And before I was powder coating, I was shooting Full Metal Jacket exclusively. Once in a while in my revolver, but I shoot my revolvers like every 2 years. And I shoot one indoor match a year. So,
I empathize with you, Trevor. The other thing is, too, remember, there are folks that are more susceptible to lead poisoning than others.
Oh, yeah, perhaps so, yeah. So, going forward, I'm going to take a break, and then going forward, I'm going to implement all of those suggestions and just not get complacent this time, because I think it's complacency that allowed it to creep up from where it was rather than go down.
Yeah.
So,
buddy, I empathize with you for real. This is bad juju.
Yep. And depending on what source you read, no lead is an acceptable level. Some people say, well, they put that number on there on the test results because they have to put something, but there's different schools of thought, and some articles say that no lead is acceptable. All of it left unchecked will lead to neurological issues. Heavy metals can cause cancer. So Guts to get a hold of it.
Get it out, my man. Get it out.
Yep. Now, what about you? Have you guys had your lead checked ever?
No. After listening to you on Thursday, that made me spur myself to get in my next physical and get my lead tested. A couple of things on handling lead. Amazon has 3 or 4 different types of de-leading soap. Basically, it's a hand soap that's designed specifically for those of us that are handling lead a lot, and you can use that to wash immediately after. They've actually got wipes also.
Yeah, I've seen the wipes. I've had the wipes once, but what I normally do is I just go to the pharmacy and I buy wet wipes because when I shoot, depending on what I'm shooting, I pick up my brass afterwards. 9mm, not so much, but my rifle brass and my 40 and 45 and revolver brass, I do pick that stuff up, and then I may stop and eat on the way home, right?
Right.
So wet wipes
Never
in the range
again.
bag are yeah, exactly. Wet wipes or the de-leading wipes are definitely a must.
Trevor, when you're picking your brass up, you ought to be using latex gloves. Even a brown jersey fabric work glove would be okay because that way the material's not touching your skin.
Yep, just something that I could keep in the range bag.
Yep.
And
it's also not going to look sissified like a white latex glove would look. It's not going to look strange like that.
Yeah. I'm not too worried about looking sissified.
I wouldn't.
No.
Cotton, the lead will go right through the cotton. It's
not
a barrier. Cotton gloves aren't going to be a barrier in any way, shape, or form, especially if there's any sort of moisture. Now you've just increased your absorption rate.
Yeah, Mike's right. I didn't think about that. But you got something.
Yeah.
Even what about leather work gloves, Mike? What do you think about that?
You're still going to run into the same problem.
Latex.
True, because you got to take the gloves off.
A latex or a nitrile glove is going to be your best. Especially for what we do, you get any of the mechanic styles where they're a heavier quality. They're going to hold up better. So
I also think I'm going to keep specific clothing in the basement and specific footwear in the basement so I don't drag it around the house for the wife.
Yeah. Now, the other thing to consider is age of your house.
Yeah, might get the water tested. I mean, the water, we bought the house in 2013 and you can't get a mortgage without a clean water test. But
what is their definition of clean? Every zoning rate has different.
Exactly. They could just be checking for E. coli.
Yeah. They may not be testing for any heavy metals. And obviously, as Flint, Michigan's proved over the last couple of years, there's still a lot of lead out there in plumbing. So, and it may not even be in your house. It may be, in the street lines like it was in Flint and a lot of the other places.
Yeah. I find every time I hear something negative about Flint, I'm just shocked.
Yeah. The fact that it was immediately taken care of is the biggest shock on that entire event.
Yeah, really. I refer to the town that I work in as New Brunswick's Flint.
Yeah.
Everywhere you turn, it's closed down factory, closed down mill, closed down this, closed down that.
Yeah.
Cool. There you go.
All right.
Get your lead checked.
Jim, have you ever had yours tested?
I have a long time ago, but I guess I'd better do it again.
Yeah. So
next physical.
Yeah, I got a call tomorrow and schedule mine. So I'll get mine and I'll let everybody know what mine are. So
yeah, I'd be curious to see because you've been doing this. You've been doing this a lot longer than I have, I believe.
Yeah. So
yeah,
mine's always been out in the garage. So theoretically, maybe there's a difference but I don't have any ventilation in the garage other than if the garage door is open. So
yeah, but
Mike, you're not casting yet, are you, Mike?
No, and I very rarely shoot indoors. It's mostly outside.
You also don't shoot multiple matches a week.
Yeah, I don't shoot anywhere near. Yeah. I shoot probably what you shoot in a year. Or, I shoot in a year what you probably shoot in a month.
Yeah.
Unless I'm doing load tests.
What's your annual round count, Trevor? Do you have any idea?
10 plus.
Shoo.
Yep.
This year was a big year.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, the vapors from the shooting itself, I know the powder has lead in it.
And you know what else? Where else I get exposure, Jim, and I find myself holding my breath is in the shooting competition that I do, IPSC. I'm a range officer, so that means I've got to follow half
Oh
the
my God.
competitors in my squad while they shoot, holding the timer. So if they're shooting cast bullets, it's coming right back in my face.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Hmm.
Yep. Another idea that I've heard of that I've never seen, well, I've never seen, but I've actually heard of. It's a good idea. Is a range hood. You cast under a range hood,
Mm.
have it on, and evacuate all the fumes out that come up into the range hood. Goes straight outside. There's a guy casting shop I saw in Indiana, and he was a serious caster. He probably, I'm going to guess, he's probably got a round count in excess of 1.5K.
Hmm.
I'm sorry, 150K. And it's like, yeah, Joe, you go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say, if you're using a standard range hood, though, that's not going to move much air.
True.
Your standard range hood, I don't know what the exact is, but I know it's less than a bathroom fan, and a bathroom fan's 80 CFM. So, but you could definitely make something.
Well, I just realized too, Mike, that range hood, guys, discount that range hood idea because
that's not a bad.
It is, Mike, because it creates a vortex of the fumes and dust directly in front of the caster.
Well, he's probably using a very modified or purpose-built. You know, I'm sure it's not the same range hood you have in your stove in your kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they do make a similar setup to that is actually designed for ventilation. Hello, welcome to the Reloading Podcast. Today we're here with Tim and Chris.
Nothing like live boo-boos.
Oh, goodness.
Yep.
Last week it was me on the phone. It's like, doggone it.
Oh, thank you, Jim. You just reminded me to mute my phone.
Yep, I hit the mouse wrong. So, whoops. Anyway.
Which is why we can't have nice things.
Right? Dang kids.
Mm-hmm.
So, as far as what I've done, as I was showing the guys beforehand, after the show last week, Kel and I made up some 9. And then I had my buddy down and we finished up his 30 rounds of 257 Weatherby. So anybody who's got a Hornady lock and load auto charge, let me know if you've ever had it just randomly start shutting off. Mine is doing that. So I'm kind of curious. I'm going to call Hornady again tomorrow and we're going to have a conversation because it's out of warranty. It's only, but because they only have a year warranty on those things. But if I'm hearing a lot of, at this point in time, I honestly don't think I can recommend it to anybody. I know I haven't been since I've started having my problems. I've been telling everybody to get the RCBS or the Lyman. But I'm just kind of curious if this is a solo issue or if this is something that other people have had too. So have to send me some emails at reloadingpodcast@gmail.com and let me know. So very frustrating when you're trying to throw charges and all of a sudden it decides it just wants to shut off. So I actually threw if you're throwing a charge, it'll shut off. If you're just using it as a scale, it runs fine. So who knows? So well,
I hope Mr. Hornady makes it right for you.
We'll see what happens. Hopefully.
I'm sure that although probably not a terribly common problem, yours will not be the first that they've heard of and they'll know what it's about.
Yeah. I would hope so. So. All right. So the main focus of this episode is actually going to be a interview that I sat down and recorded a couple weeks ago. And we just had other topics that we were trying to get to that we haven't covered it yet. So I sat down with the guys from Tactical Waltz and we discussed their product line, their history, that type of thing, and kind of went over how you could use tactical walls not only for firearms, but for reloading stuff. And then, so after, I'm going to actually play the interview by sharing screen. And then when that's all said and done, we'll come back and have a chat. So,
I'll take a nap while you're up.
Take a nap when we're on. So what's your point?
Every show needs a stand.
That's right.
I don't see his Snuggie. I mean, he's on the coach, but I can't see his Snuggie from here.
No, he doesn't have the.
He's got his pillow. Now.
What?
No, nothing. The Trudeau salute.
That's right. Guys.
God.
All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to mute our microphones and sit back and watch. Here we go. From Tactical Walls. Today we're going to talk to these guys.
Tactical walls came about out of a very real problem that I was having. And then you shoot your guns and you take them out of the cases and you bring them home and you clean them or you leave them on the bench or you're working on them, gunsmithing, whatever it is you're doing. So now you've got a bunch of empty cases and a bunch of guns out of the cases. And where do you keep them?
Today we're here with Tim and Chris from Tactical Wall. So I muted my microphone, and the problem with me muting my microphone is you all can't hear. So I hopefully you enjoyed that nice bit of silence.
That was all over the place. We heard it. We didn't hear it.
Well, I unmuted it for a second to see if it was changing anything, and it didn't. So I'm going to start over with my microphone not muted this time. And
all right.
That should work a lot better, folks. Balls. Today we're going to talk to these guys, and they're going to tell us a bit about the company and how Tactical Walls not only works for firearm storage, but how we can use it for reloading and keeping our benches cleaner. But first, guys, introduce yourselves.
I'm Tim.
I'm Chris. Tim, apparently a little short-winded today. He is the president and founder of the company. I'm the vice president of sales and marketing.
Yeah, I didn't know how in depth you wanted to go there. So
how did Tactical Walls come about?
So Tactical Walls came about out of a very real problem that I was having, in that I bought a firearm, and like they always do, it multiplied into many firearms. And so the plastic cases started to collect and add up. You have a bunch of pistol cases or rifle cases, and the guy's only got so much room under his bed, or in the corner, in the closet. And then you shoot your guns and you take them out of the cases and you bring them home and you clean them or you leave them on the bench or you're working on them, gunsmithing, whatever it is you're doing. So now you've got a bunch of empty cases and a bunch of guns out of the cases. And where do you keep them as they continue to multiply, as they often do? So it wasn't so much a problem with my children, because they've got their own firearms, and you work on firearm safety tenets and stuff. That wasn't really as much of a concern for me at the time. Really what it was when I would travel out of state, I wanted to hide all my guns. So I'm like a squirrel with his nuts, and I'm taking these acorns and I'm hiding them all over the house. And when I come back from my travels, I'm going around unhiding my guns, And I've got a mental checklist. Okay, there's my FN, there's my Glock, and there's my Daniel Defense, and and that's fine when you have guns that you can count on one hand, probably. When you start to have more than that, or if you're, got a short memory like me, all of a sudden you count your empty cases and you count your firearms and you realize you're still missing a few that you hid because you didn't hide them all in one place if you're a smart squirrel. So I wanted to find a way to hide the guns where I could just get to them. So I wanted a product that I could just have hidden compartments in, leave it hidden. Even when I'm home, I can leave it hidden right where it is, but get into it at a moment's notice. So it started with our mirror was the first thing I came up with, was like, hey, I'm going to put a mirror in the bedroom. I'm going to cut a hole behind it. I'm going to hide it behind the mirror. It'll be like Mr. and Mrs. Smith, whatever, James Bond. And that way I'll have my gun ready if I need it in the middle of the night, out of sight, and I can secure it if you really want to keep it secured, locked up so that the little ones can't get to it. Started there, and that way I could keep a gun hidden in the bedroom, and I could keep a gun hidden at the other end of the house on a shelf, and I could keep a gun hidden in the living room, and you could have guns spread all through the house. So no matter where you are, you're never far from one, but it's still locked up or secure, out of sight, and accessible. And then you don't have to wonder and do this mental, bingo card of where are the guns. That's how it started. So.
And Chris, how did you get involved?
So I met Tim before the company was a company, really. It was just a product. And I was a salesman for Fastenal selling nuts and bolts, and he was a designer at a plastic plant. And he had High Threat Concealment's very first mass production prototype on his desk. And I got super excited because I recognized another gun guy when I saw that holster. And so we started talking about that. And then Tim showed me, was it the original prototype of it? Was, give or take. It was the little, or 1440, which is a plastic tub insert. You cut out your wall and sheetrock, you slide it in there. And I I produced maybe 25 of these little plastic inserts and then had some mirrors to hang over. But we start talking about guns, and oh, you like guns? You have guns too? Wow, let's talk about guns. Let me show you something, and it started there. I take the mirror off of the wall, and that seems like. I got really excited. I was like, man, if you ever need it, I think I can help you sell this like a lot. And that really kind of got the ball rolling. It was dormant for a month, I don't know, maybe 3 months, something like that. Who can remember? It's been, and this is 5 years, going back 5+ years, because the website now has been 5 years. And it was when I was visiting, it's funny, I'm getting ready to leave at the end of this week to visit my brother in Connecticut for a week. And it was visiting my brother in Connecticut, we'll say 5.5 years ago, that I got a phone call from Chris saying, hey, I think I've got a couple people interested in that thing, you had. I was telling them about it, and they got a couple takers that really want one. So that was really what, because like I said, I've made 25 of these things, and I'll sell them when I can. And I did the front end legwork of it. I came up with a name and figured out that side of it, but it just kind of petered out. I got a job. I don't have time to go try to find other people that would maybe want this thing. It was really a solution for me, and maybe I could find 24 other people that would be interested in this thing. And Chris found, several people, and he called me to let me know. And so I'm thinking, oh, great, I can sell some of these things now and get them out of here. And so when we got back from Connecticut, which is also coincidentally where Chris is from originally, he and I got together and we're like, let's do this, and let's make this be a thing, and let's get started. So we got started on our website and went from there. This might be the most comprehensive how did you get started history of all the times we've done different podcasts and interviews, and this might be the most in-depth we've ever.
That's kind of cool how that started. You just, it's kind of like a lot of the ways that we all kind of get involved. We just see a little something out of the corner of eye. Oh, hey, that person likes guns. And we start talking about guns, and then you find out this, that, and the other thing. And then, Chris, you had the background in sales, and Tim, you were the idea man, and you guys just got together and away you went. And
exactly. Yeah, that shared passion is really what started it all, though. Yeah.
Yeah. And now 5.5 years later, look at where you guys are. And just The first time I actually got to lay hands on some of your products was actually at the Concealed Carry Expo that NRA had in Milwaukee.
Nice.
And I'd heard and heard and heard. And honestly, you know, you hear all this stuff, especially us in the firearms world, you hear all this stuff about all these products.
Yeah.
And I was blown away with the quality. You know, I've seen, you know, some, you know, the generic hide a gun behind a clock stuff and Steve stuff like that. That's been floating around for years that, you know, basically there's no security to it or anything. But to see the products in person, to see how they operate, to see the quality, the craftsmanship, the finish, the fit, I honestly was just blown away.
I think where we tried to set ourselves apart was by making a functional piece of furniture first that then did something awesome, instead of just focusing on this is a thing that hides stuff, how can we make it the cheapest way possible. We wanted to make a piece of furniture that you were going to be happy living with for the next 25 years.
Yeah. And
a big part of that is what sets us aside from, like you said, you've seen the clock or the hidden book or whatever for years. It's just been a sort of staple. We tried very early on because, you know, we both had full-time jobs. So it wasn't like we're going to make these things. It was we're going to have these made. So I was doing the plastic part from the company I worked for at the time. And then the wood we'd subbed out to another shop. And then we outgrew that shop to another shop. And then we were outgrowing that shop, or just the quality control. And ultimately, within about 4 or 5 months, it was growing really fast. And it became very apparent that to be able to control lead times and quality control expectations, we had to bring it in-house. So that was a crazy hectic time, because it was like, all right, do you quit your full-time job to go pursue this thing so you can control the quality and the turnaround time? So ultimately, that we opted yes, we do that. So from that point on, we just brought more and more of the things that we had subbed out in-house.
Yep.
To the point where, you know, so then we could do the woodworking, but we still subbed out the plastic. Well, then we brought that in-house, you know, and so ultimately we went from a shop of nothing to a shop of, well, all right, turnkey. So as a result, we're able to control the quality and the consistency of the product, like you say, and like you mentioned. And we get that all the time when we travel, when we go to these shows. In your case, the NRA show in Wisconsin, but whether it be the NRA shows and the other, you know, the ANRAM, annual meetings, or whether it be the SHOT Show. We go to SHOT Show or Great American in Pennsylvania. When people see it in person for the first time, they've seen it. They've seen the videos online. They've seen it on Facebook. They've seen it on Pinterest. And they've seen it in the magazines. And it's something different when you can actually touch and feel and really recognize. And we get that. We create a product that doesn't, you know what a Gen 5 Glock, you know what a Gen 5 Glock is going to be. It's going to be just like the 4 and like the 3 before it, you know, with a couple little changes here and there. But you've held one, you've seen one in person. Whereas our product, it's not so widespread and it's not so big that everyone's seen one, you know, not in person at least.
Well, and it's really hard to judge a piece of furniture by a picture online. Until you can actually put hands on it and see it up close in person, there's no way to get a real good sense of it.
Well, and we don't make a product that the firearm enthusiast is really thinking about. You know, they don't wake up just like, oh, I'm going to think about furniture today. You know, furniture is not per se a major passion for firearm enthusiasts.
Right.
And to be fair, furniture really isn't a major passion for us, because we make storage for concealing and deploying firearms for home and personal defense. That's what we make. But what we really make is furniture.
Yep.
So it's twofold. Everything that we make is a system by which you can store and display and deploy, and you can use it. And you can buy it. You can just be, hey, look, I just want the James Bond feel. I don't have any anticipation of ever using this to save my life. You can be that guy or gal, you know? Or you can be, oh, you know what? I'm using this specifically for saving my life. This is a real solid defensive plan for me. I don't really care what color it is or what shape it is. This, for me, is a real tool. And you could be that type of person, you know? And so it's kind of either or. It can be it's the cool aspect, or no, it's functional, and I need it to be this thing. But for us, it's both. It's always got to be both. It's got to be a functioning furniture piece that would fit in your home, fit the decor, and be well built, because it's not a disposable thing. You know, it's not a holster where, and not to rip on holsters. Once you wear a holster, anyone that's bought a holster has bought 5 holsters, because you want to try to find the next most comfortable one, or the next most usable one. Or I like this feature for when I wear this outfit. You know, you got your business casual holster, you got your working in the field holster. So our product, you got to live with it day in and day out. So it's got to look good in your home, and it's got to be furniture. And at a point, and we're going to work our way to this thing here behind us, our mod wall we call it, and that's probably more for the Reloading podcast fans, where something like this can be a bigger tool. And so we sort of changed gears and moved from furniture centric to a whole nother, you know, yes, it's still storage. You know, yes, you can get to it quickly. Yes, it has the panache and the showy offness if that's what you're looking for. But it's super functional as far as a tool to help you do a specific job. And in this case, if it's reloading or cleaning or gunsmithing, it can be a real good tool for that.
The one last thing I just want to touch on, going back to what you said about the clock, the book, etc. I think one of the biggest differences there is those are all made offshore and they come in a big container, and you know, nobody really cares. Everything we do is made right here in Virginia. It's like 15 feet from where we're sitting, by people who really care about it. So I think that's one of the things that really sets us apart too.
Yeah, you can definitely tell that the craftsmen that assembled and built all those units take pride in their work, because everything is, you know, the corners on the rifle drop-down shelf. The corners are perfect.
Yep.
There's no offset. The cuts perfect. Everything everything looks like it's built with love, care, compassion, and by a master craftsman. And it really shows that the people that are actually building these do care.
Absolutely. We're really, really lucky and proud of the staff we've built here. They do things that I don't think either of us can do on a regular basis, the way they execute.
Yeah. But the funny thing is, every now and then they'll call you out or call me and say, hey, can you come look at this? What do you think of this tolerance? Or what do you think of this finish? Or what do you think of this, how this look and feel and work and close and open locking? And it's kind of funny to me because I built it 4.5 years ago, you know, and I built the first, you know, maybe several hundred. In that time, they built thousands and thousands and thousands. It's like, you're the master now. Like, don't ask me what I think. You're the one that's like, you can do this with your eyes closed. So. Yeah.
So
awesome. That was an awkward pause, like Craig Ferguson.
What's the most popular item?
It kind of goes back and forth, but it's either our 1450M, which is the big mirror, or the 1242 RLS, which is the full rifle shelf.
But being October right now, it's the pumpkin spice shelf.
Yeah. The pumpkin spice, always good this time of year.
It's the full length mirror. It's the full length mirror, or it's the full width shelf. They're the two most popular, and they switch back and forth. And the colors vary sometimes with season.
Yeah.
But we've got our suspicions as to why that is, because they're just darn sexy. They look good. You can fit a rifle in it. You can fit a shotgun in it. You can fit a couple handguns in it. So if someone's buying it, they're buying it so they want to store a couple different things. And that's why I feel, it's my feeling, based on nothing else, why that resonates so well with people.
I think one of my favorite things, because I got home and I started perusing the website right away. I think one of my favorite things is not only that you offer so many different options for finish, but you also offer it with no finish.
Yep.
So if the customer wants to put their own custom finish on it, they don't have to strip a finish off first.
Right. Right, absolutely, and it shows up ready to accept stain. It's sanded, final sand, clean. All you got to do is wipe it down and go to town. It's ready to go. And I'm guessing if you're willing to reload your own rounds, you're probably interested in finishing your own piece of furniture as well.
Oh yeah. So the mod wall, how did that come about?
That's an interesting story. We've since we started the business, we were trying to work with some other companies. You know, we've been able to develop some really great relationships with really great people in the industry. And we thought, hey, we make a this, you make a that. If you put our this with your that, we can put these two things together. It'd be peanut butter and jelly. It's going to be great. And, you know, on paper, that sounds really good. And when you're working and you're not in the same town and you're not being able to be face to face, that always complicates things a bit. Or when you have two different visions of what it could look like and where could you put it. But it just made sense to kind of work together. So we tried to work with another company, and it would take off and it would peter out. It would take off and it would peter out. And once it petered out and it was sitting stagnant, I thought, well, there's something here. Like we're missing the opportunity for a thing we can do on our side. So we had at the time, we were doing a lot of custom stuff here. We don't currently do the custom stuff as much as we had, and we're not really as focused on that. It's not that we wouldn't go back to it. It's just a whole different part of the business. And at the time, we were marrying these cool systems with our custom stuff, and we thought, well, let's just make our own. That way we won't have to deal with the clumsiness of a relationship with the people we're working with. Were very focused on their side of it, or at least on what their main core business was. And we really wanted to work with them, and they did want to work with us, but they had to stay focused. We can't fault them for that. But at the same time, we really saw an opportunity in this other thing. So we pursued some prototypes of our own. We'll kind of make our own then, and we'll make our own peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So that's kind of where that started and it went into some different custom things that we were doing at the time. And it was a natural progression. So you know what? If there's a market for this kind of gun room, sort of man cave style displaying of the gun wall culture, let's just do it. Let's make a nice one, you know. Sure, you can go buy pegboard. You know, you can go down to the hardware store, you can buy pegboard, and get all the little metal attachments, and you can hang it up, and it'll look like your dad's lawnmower shed. It'll look like pegboard at the end of the day. But, you know, if you're building and if you're putting the money that it takes to put a, you know, $600 optic or $1,000 optic on your rifle, you know, if you're building a $2,000 gun or a $1,500 gun, you don't want to just throw it in a case in the corner. You know, you don't want to hide it behind a mirror. You want to admire it. You want to show it off. You want to have it at your workbench. You know, you go shoot it, you bring it home, you clean it, you smith on it a bit, and then you display it. So we recognize that. We also recognize there's a lot of younger guys going out overseas, Afghanistan, Iraq. They're running a couple different tours. They've got all their different kit. They come back. They're in law enforcement now. They've got a plate carrier. You know, they've got a helmet. They've got a belt. You know, battle belt, and all this other sort of stuff that, you know, your dad and your grandfather didn't have. You know, they had a gun rack or maybe a gun case. You know, but firearms in our culture have changed how we use them, how we interface them, and who uses them. You could have your layman gun guy who's going out and shooting once a month, you know, to your people that live and breathe every day with firearms. You've got your everyday carry crowd who are, you know, your very well-informed, casual firearm owner and enthusiast. You've got your law enforcement guys who have their specific kit that they carry every day, or maybe on the weekends or when they're going to range. So we wanted to give away, as you can see the mod wall behind us, all right, you can display and organize your plate carrier. You know, you come home from the range, you stink, you're sweaty, you're gross. Okay, you can either ball it up in the corner and put all your stuff in the corner, let it get some circulation and get the funk off of it.
And look awesome.
And look good while doing it. So in this particular like 2-panel setup, we've got a 300 blackout rifle here on display. Pistol here. We've got a fake shotgun, Uzi, MP5. So just in a small set of panels with a couple different accessories, and this is completely modular. That's what the mod and Modwall is. You can configure and move this stuff around. It's almost like Legos, you know. And very much like the AR, you know, is they call it like Barbie for guys or whatever. And you know, you get your AR, a real basic model AR, and then you can go buy all of the furniture you want, any optics you want, whatever. You know, the sky's the limit. You build your own, you personalize it. Well, this Modwall system is a way for you to personalize and store and display your collection. And as your collection grows, the Modwall is expandable. You can add more panels left and right, top and bottom. And when you got a gun room, you know, we all want a gun room, but you start with like a couple firearms. And eventually you get to the point where you can do a whole wall of guns. And you can see all of them on display all at once. You can take a quick inventory. You don't forget about, you know, like I talked about earlier, you got a whole bunch of gun cases. And you forget which guns you even bought. And when you want to go shoot the gun, oh, I forgot I even had this gun. You know, I've got a Ruger Mark IV that I continually forget I have. And a big part of that's because the .22 long rifle became so expensive and so scarce years ago, then you just didn't shoot it. You just put it away. It was like, okay, I still have this. I just don't ever use it anymore. So this Modwall now allows you to kind of see, organize, and display your whole collection. Really enjoy it, because gun guys, more times than not, shooting is just part of it. Working on it is part of it. Enjoying it and admiring it is part of it. You know, you get home and get as much enjoyment out of standing there in front of it, you know, with your favorite coffee mug or your favorite bottle of beer or whatever, and really just, it's an investment. It's an investment of time, and it's an investment of money. And you can just look there, you get peace of mind knowing that you've got what you need to either protect yourself and your family, or even recognizing the protection that it brings, and that you can pass that on to your children, and you can pass the heritage on. Or, I mean, if it's got a peace of mind in the sense that it is an investment, it's a financial investment, but you ever need to get rid of a gun, you want to do something, you God, you can gift them. It's just so many.
Guns are the best.
Guns are the best is where we're going with this, which we all know. But sorry, let's see the whole long-winded thing. Now it's all catching up. You're kind of regretting it.
So, what's the weight capacity on the Modwall?
That's a really, really good question. We've it's not like we got like a super fancy testing lab. Right. We had hung about 125 pounds. 150. Oh, I'm sorry, 150. I stand corrected. Not from one single loading point. Let me see if I can get a. See if we take that off. This is awkward sitting down. All right, so I'm going to pull this off. It's a pistol holder here.
Yeah.
And it looks like a magazine, you know, and that's for a double stack. So it just fits in the mag well. We also have a magnetic version. Yeah. What I'm getting at, though, is to answer your question. The way that the system works is you've got these two screws that are adjustable in the back, and they ride in a slot on the wall. Now, the more torque and leverage you put down on this, obviously, the harder that this has got to hold it up there. So we've distributed and hung some weights, some plates. I think we've got a photo or video of this somewhere, where we went into we got a weight room here, and we went into the weight room, grabbed a bunch of weights, and we hung them off all these different accessories all over the wall. And we've hung 150 pounds off of this panel here. Now, 150 pounds is far more than you're really ever going to put on the thing.
Right.
I mean, the plate carrier, this is probably about 40 pounds, I guess.
That's definitely the heaviest thing by a lot.
Those are rated, you know, for 5.56, 7.62. So those are
strike. They're level 3s.
Yeah, they're heavy plates. But I don't think we have that on the website. We don't say 150. I don't believe.
No, basically, we put 25-pound plates on several different accessories and had 0 failures. And a lot of that's dependent on the end user, because they have to not have it too loose so that it can leverage out and stuff like that. They have to, you know, make sure it's right. But
it's sort of a common sense sort of, you know, like if you try to hang a Barrett off of like these two little connection points that were designed to hold a pistol, in time, it might hold it initially, but in time, that's going to be bad. So don't do that, obviously.
Well, what I was looking at is I'm looking at the helmet hanger, and I'm thinking that might be a perfect display for like a press. If you come up with a bracket for the helmet hangers for setting a press on, not to use, just for like.
Oh yeah. Okay, I'm with you now. Yeah, you're thinking in real life to refocus my brain to the reloading side.
Yeah.
Because you also have press. So.
Yep. Yeah. No, that'd be perfect. You're right.
And there's a variety of shelves. So we got a shorter, a smaller, shelf for different tools, boxes. I don't know what your primers, whatever. I'm sure you've got a whole variety of little things. We've got a bigger, more robust shelf here behind Chris for holding things. And then this stuff is super easy to work with. It's polyethylene, high density polyethylene. So if you've got a punch set or a screwdriver set or a set of pliers, if you want to run a bunch of tools in here, you can just take out a drill, poke yourself a hole, your own. Yep. It's completely made to be your own. So, we do have photos, and I wish we could probably share something, but we've got photos of it used in like a smithing bench, like a gunsmithing bench. There's no press there, but you can definitely see how it can be used in that capacity.
Yeah, you can set if you want. You can email me a couple of those, and then I'll put them up in the notes for this episode.
Perfect.
So,
yeah.
Just amazing the versatility and the ability to be able to just change it out and all the different little things, and then the fact that you've got the Haida magnet too, so where you can just literally just something's magnetic, just slap it on the magnet and away you go.
Exactly. Anything steel can just stick right there wherever you put it. It's honestly my favorite of all the attachments, just because it's so versatile. And if you're putting a pistol on there, it looks like it's floating, and that's cool.
That is cool. So what's next?
Ooh. Some stuff we can't talk about.
There's a bunch of things, and basically we just don't want to disappoint anybody because there's like several things that are kind of in a race for what's next.
Yeah.
And so until we figure out what that is, we need to.
But I mean, as far as what's next, when you look where we started with insert that could be put in a wall. You hang a mirror over it. Started with hanging a mirror. Then we built a mirror, but you still got to cut a hole in your wall. Mm-hmm. So then it moved and it evolved from cutting a hole in your wall to hanging a shelf on the wall. So you still require screwdrivers and guns, and cutting a hole is a modification to your home. Hanging a shelf is a much lower, pretty minimal. You still have to break out the screw gun. You still got to break out the level and the measuring tape and all that. And then we went to some table type things or our lamp where, take it out of the box and set it down and it's done, and everything Haida magnet you just mentioned, it's to run 2 screws in wherever you want and it's done. And you've got everything from like a $20 entry level item to the sky's the limit. You want to spend $1,000 and have something custom made, add another 1,500 to the 1,000 and you can do that. So, where we've opened this can of worms and led the way for a couple other people too. We're kind of paving the path for other people to drive on, but we're going to continue to lead and push what that is and how we interact with it in the home and out of the home and in the workshop or in the gun room. So you never can tell where we'll go next.
So with the mod wall, what sort of mounting system does it use?
So it's pre-drilled. You'll never be able to see it, so I don't know why I'm pointing, but it's pre-drilled 16 on center, so you have to find your studs. And we provide mounting screws, so it's literally as simple as just running some screws into your studs, and then the panels are hung. Everything else comes on those screws he was showing you earlier, and it's adjustable tension, so you can figure out where you want it, keep them loose, and then tighten them down, slide them into place, and let them stay there. So it's really, really well modular, just like the name suggests. setup comes out a little different. We're starting to get some great customer pictures on our Facebook of different people's mod walls that they're sending in. It's starting to look really cool.
Excellent. So I will put some links in the show notes for the mod wall, and then the pictures of your one guy who's got the gunsmithing setup. And
yep. We'll get that to you shortly.
I know it's somewhere. I was just looking for it. I know it's somewhere. I've got my phone. I have it somewhere where I could probably put it right in here. But I told you earlier, fucking technology.
Yeah. I want to take some time to thank you guys for working out some time to sit down and talk with us and show us this. And I definitely, especially with all the shelving and everything, it's an awesome product to really make your reloading area look sharp. It's one of my projects I'm going to work on here for the next couple of months, since it's going into winter. And Wisconsin, there's really not much to do outside. So when I get mine ordered and set up and stuff, I'll send you guys some pictures.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for having us on. I know we jumped the time around on you like 6 times or something. So the flexibility is definitely appreciated. And we're big fans of anybody involved with Firearms Radio Network, because that's an awesome organization. So
thank you. All right, gentlemen, I'll let you get back to it. And thanks again.
All right, thanks, Mike. Have a great day.
You too. All righty. Yeah, that's not going to go well. The only problem when you go full screen on YouTube, it's kind of hard to. I don't want to cast it. I want it to go away.
Not a bad job, Michael.
Thank you. Every once in a while.
Yeah, pretty awesome products.
Yeah, looking forward to getting stuff. All right. So that was a fun time talking to those guys about that. So
yeah, I definitely need to look into their hanging systems, because they have a nicely finished version of what I have. I went the cheap route and just got the unfinished product. So like I showed you guys last time, that's what I'm using.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't buy the professional hangers. I just bought whatever I could find at the hardware store that wasn't for pegboard, so that I could do up my whole room. But they have some nice options for hanging stuff. I must go check out their website.
Yeah, when I was looking at the shelving that they've got, that is going to be perfect for putting, especially like for the 550s and the 650s, where you've got the turret heads, even with the Lees and stuff like that, where you've got the turret heads.
Oh yeah, I've got nothing to hold up my turret press tool heads. They're just tossed on the bench. It'd be cool to get a small piece of that to put either on the side of my bench or directly behind my bench, and then I could put all my Dillon tool heads and my turret press tool heads on there.
Yeah. So the shelves are all adjustable, and
there's the other thing I like. If you throw a shelf up, it's screwed to the wall. Yeah. It's generally there, unless you use the the track with the brackets that go in. But even still, you're not coming in and out unless you take the tracks off, and they're screwed into studs. Here, the sheet is screwed into the studs, and then the hangers can be adjusted in a variety of configurations depending on how you want to change your setup to store your stuff. Now, Mike, you were saying a listener or viewer rather had a question about one of my pistols.
Marine Tanker 87 wanted to know, what do you shoot for an open gun? He saw during the interview, he saw you were playing with a couple of your toys, so he wanted to know which one is your open gun.
Is he still there? Do you want me to grab them?
Yeah.
Okay. I no longer have a true open gun. A true open gun in IS and IPSC or USPSA has a magnified red dot optic and a compensator on the barrel. So I spent a year in open division. I no longer do. These would be the closest. Well, these are my only other two IPSC pistols, really. Well, I suppose I've got guns that I could use in the production division, but they're lame because they're production guns and they're not really tuned up. This gun here is my Tanfoglio Limited Custom Extreme. It's a double stack 40 caliber gun. It comes from the factory with a flared mag well. It's a single action gun, and it has all of the extended controls. The safety on this side is so large that it acts actually as a thumb rest. Has ambidextrous safety, extended slide stop, fiber optic sight. The slide is milled to reduce weight to improve the cyclet rate. So the limited division and the standard division in IPSC, the only difference between that and open is no comp and no optic, and you're limited to the size of the mag well. There's an actual box that the gun has to fit inside of, so that's going to keep the size of the safeties to a certain size. It's going to keep the size of the mag well from turning into a satellite dish. Other than that, anything goes. Single action pistol. And then this one is my classic gun. So in classic, the gun has to be a 1911 pattern. Basically, the aesthetics on the exterior need to look like a 1911, but they've already started to allow things. In USPSA, you're not allowed to have a bull barrel. But in classic and IPSC, you are allowed to have a bull barrel. So this is a bull barrel, but still has the barrel bushing. I've got extended safeties, ambidextrous and extended. If you look at the size of the one on this side, I've got an extended thumb release, and I have a mag well, but the mag well is restricted to 35 millimeters. So there's nothing classic about the classic division. Better than that yet, this isn't even a 45. This is a 9mm. You have the option in classic to shoot 10 rounds of 9mm and score minor with a power factor of 125, or you can shoot 8-round 45 caliber mags or 40 caliber mags and score major. But when you score major shooting 40 or 45, you're limited to 8 in the mag. So you're doing a lot more mag changes. Typically, depending in my matches, you do, because I make sure to screw the revolver and this classic major guys as much as I can. So I'm not sure. I can only. Is he still there?
Yep.
All right. So I don't know if that answers his question or not, because those are the only two guns that I have that would be close to open guns.
Yeah. So Jim, what'd you think? Now that you're rebuilding your reloading room.
Sounds like a system to look into.
Yeah.
For hanging on the wall or something like that. I'll have to look it up. What? By the way, what is the link, Mike? Verbally, tell me, what is the link for their?
It's just tacticalwalls.com.
Okay, good deal.
So, really nice stuff. They've got a whole bunch of different adapters and everything to check out. So, definitely worth taking a minute to take a look. And I'll have the links in the show.
Sounds good.
So.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Tacticalwalls.com.
Yep.
Because I am, slowly, but I am getting to the point where I'm going to start doing something with hanging stuff on the walls of my garage for shelves and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, obviously I'm going to need to put something in storage. Excuse me.
All right.
Flexibility and versatility are valuable products.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just amazing stuff. And I'll there's a couple pictures of some different stuff they've got, like with the gunsmith set all up and everything, give you some ideas. And if I'm going to order one of their helmet holders before I actually get the full set, so I can come up with a bracket that'll really work for that, and then we'll go from there and maybe that's something we can pass out. It might be just as simple as having something 3D printed, or maybe using some U-bolts or something. I haven't really decided yet because I got to get the helmet holder in, but it'd be a nice place to display your presses too. So that's kind of what I'm looking for.
Again, my what I've done since I'm running out of place on my bench downstairs is I've basically made a homemade version of Lee's mounting system where you put a mount on the bench and a plate on the press, and you could just a couple of thumb screws bolt the press down, then swap it out. The presses that I'm not using are just tossed underneath the workbench, and it would be cool to have them again on display near the bench, not buried underneath, because then something gets tossed on top of it. Next thing you know, you break something or chip off the finish.
Exactly.
Yep, you got a point, because that's one thing I'm going to have to look into also is mounting a press one at a time.
Yep. Yeah, I just did I countersunk some holes underneath the workbench and used some the appropriate bolts that fit flush under the bench in the countersunk hole, and put the piece of plywood on top. Well, I started off with the piece of plywood. I laid the plywood on top of the workbench, C-clamped it down, drilled my holes directly through the plywood, through the workbench. Then I mounted everything from underneath, including the press to the plywood plate, and then I bolt the plate down with thumb screws. And don't use a bolt that's too long, because then those things are sticking up, and you reach for something and you drag your forearm over the bolt. It's fun. Makes a nice pattern. Opens up, turns red, leaks a little bit.
Yeah. Well, Trevor, it's also possible. Think about this. Instead of having your bolts go up through, why not just simply have them go down through and run your fasteners underneath?
Yeah, because getting up underneath the bench to get the fastener and just pain in the butt. So just a shorter bolt.
Oh, you like leaving bloody grooves on your forearm, do you?
Well, you know what? There's little rubber caps that you can get, the little rubber thread protectors. Yeah.
Oh, that's Sissy's way out.
I bleed less this way.
Lame. That's lame.
Hey, you can do the same thing on a full length resizing die, an RCBS 308 full length resizing die with the long shaft coming up the top. That's sharp.
Ow.
Yep. Done that. Yeah. I should just reload in chainmail.
There you go.
That'd be hilarious.
Google Hangouts hates me, Mike. I can't see the chat app. It's gone.
Oh no, they got rid of it out of the chat. Sorry, I misunderstood that. The only way the chat shows up is if you're actually watching the video, but then you have to mute it.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's one of the things they got rid of, was the chat app, which is dumb. Eventually, we'll get our own chat app, kind of like what We Like Shooting's done, where they've got a separate chat app, but that's kind of...
Yes. So I would have to be watching in YouTube, but I would have to mute Google Hangouts.
Right.
Understood. So you'll just convey the messages to us back and forth.
Yep.
All right.
So Mr. Awesome Glock asked, when is Johnny's reloading bench going to be on? I honestly haven't worked on anything, gotten a hold of him yet to try. So that's one that we'll put down for future. So but that's definitely somebody on the list. So wanted to take a minute to thank everybody who tunes in, sends in emails, sends in voicemails, text messages. Emails are reloadingpodcast@gmail.com. The voicemails and text messages can send it at 608-467-0308. And then if you want to help out the network but don't have, you're spending money at Brownells or at Amazon, you can head over to firearmsradio.tv /reloading-podcast, and the Amazon and Brownell links are there. We greatly appreciate it. Doesn't cost you any extra money, just a little bit of extra time. So we greatly appreciate that. Just want to let everybody know that we did switch from the pledging program that we had been running over to Patreon. and still getting some of the pledgers and everything switched over. So I want to take a minute and thank everybody that has joined to the Patreon. Hopefully by next week we'll have everything completely ironed out, and we'll start reading off everybody's names again. So just want to thank everybody. It was kind of one of those things that with the change in ownership of the network that kind of got, I guess, overlooked, shall we say, that there needed to be some changes there too. So, but, yeah, so we've switched over to Patreon, and the levels are still the same. Still the 5, the 10, the 20, and the 35. The 20 is the Patriot Patch of the Month Club. The 35, you get the Patriot Patch Club or Patriot Patch Company gift certificate. And any of those levels get you essentially into the drawing for different equipment. So we did give away the scale, and that was Shane Delaney who won that. I'm going to ship that out tomorrow. So he won the RCBS scale. And then as we go here, we'll be giving away more stuff. So we want to do some testing videos with it and stuff like that. And then we'll, after we get the video shot, we won't wait to get it all edited and everything, but after we get them shot, then we'll do the drawings. So if you want to get on that, then swing over to Patreon and look for the Reloading Podcast, or you can still head over to firearmsradio.tv/pledge-reloading-podcast, and then the Patreon link is there. So got a couple questions we're going to save till next week, so thank you for sending those in. We got one via the text message and one via email, so we'll cover those next week. And just want to, we can't say thank you enough, especially unfortunately with all the sounds issues, the poor quality we had for a little bit there. I'll be honest, we did lose some downloads, and I apologize for that, but I want to especially thank everybody who's hung in there with us, and the audio quality is back. I've been getting compliments on it again, and I'm grateful for that, because that was, I hated it more than anybody, because I was trying like heck to make it. And, you know, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that could make it sound even better because they have the knowledge and the ability, but I just thank everybody for hanging in with us while we were struggling through that. So, but on that note, we'll let everybody get going. And just remember, keep your brass shiny.
Brass prep will kill you.
Yeah, that ain't no lie.
Yeah.
And as Jason went, what's that?
To definitely keep your powder dry.
Yes. Aim small, miss small.
And squeeze, don't yank that trigger. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. Appreciate your donations, too.
Thank you very much, folks.